Hey everybody, Tom here with Hidden Beats, and today we were talking with Taylor-Rae. How are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
Pretty good. It's been a nice busy day, so it's fun to get to sit down and have a nice conversation.
Yeah, start of the week. It's it's pretty busy, hey?
Yeah, it's all over the place. My wife and I were out car shopping earlier, just randomly. So it's been,
Whoa.
yeah, just everything.
Just everything. That's fun when you actually like are planning on buying a car, not just looking at it.
Except for when you realize the bill's like $60,000 later, and it's like, okay, well, that's fun.
Yeah, yes.
Well, we're here today to talk about you, about your music, and about what you do in the world. But for those who are new, can you give a little intro about yourself?
Yeah, I am a country artist originally from Alberta, and now I'm based in Nashville.
Nice. So, what got you started in music? I guess is the first question.
Yeah, I grew up singing with my dad, and he would just put on everything, and I obviously had no idea how anything went, and I would just make it up as I went. And it was kind of around 13 or 14 when I started to show an interest in performing that it was like, you're not too bad at this if you want to take a swing at it. So it was kind of just off to the races from there, and then ended up going to school for the business side of things because he was kind of the mind that if you're going to join an industry like this, you better know as much as you can. So
Mhm.
ever since then, it's really just been kind of rolling.
Yeah, and definitely that's not a bad thing because this is a business now. So,
I know it's such a fine balance, right? Because we're creating art, it's a creative business, but at the end of the day, when there's money involved, you have to know what's going on.
mhm. So who would you say inspired you musically? Like, what kind of artists out there were you listening to that made you go, man, I want to be like this person?
I would say Martina McBride is probably one of my top inspirations. I grew up trying to sing her songs, and as many people know, they're very difficult.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like I would pick one of her songs that was maybe easier and then try and get as good as I could and then move on to the one that I thought was the next hardest. And it was kind of like she was my vocal bar, basically.
Mhm. So you've been, around a little bit doing different things and seeing the industry. What makes you unique over someone else?
I don't know. I feel like we all think we're unique, but
Hmm.
um, I don't know. I think it's for me, one of the things that I focus on is my vocals. Like I love to sing and I was in a soul choir and just really learned how to like let it go, and really belt it out. So I think that's something that I try not to take out of my music. I think a lot of times it can be discouraged in some ways and I was affected by that, and now especially going into this next batch of music, I'm like whatever. I'm just gonna
Hmm.
do what feels right to me. And yeah, so I would say that's probably the one thing that maybe sets me apart in certain ways. But yeah.
I mean, I think so. Like having first met at Boots and Hearts and seeing you on the big stage, you definitely have that vocal kind of power behind you.
Thank you. Yeah, and I've been working on that relentlessly since I was a kid because I just
Mhm.
wanted to be as good as my dad. So it's kind of like was we grew up in a very competitive family. We're a hockey family. So
Yeah.
I felt like singing for me was no different. I just wanted to be as good as I could be. And yeah, so I think that's really what kicked it for me.
Yeah, it makes sense. And what do you think was the experience like at Boots, I guess, since we're here talking about it now?
It was awesome. We're flying across the country thinking maybe we're just performing for 10 minutes. That's kind of a crazy
Hmm.
feeling. Going into a competition, you never think you're going to be the one to make it to the finals or whatever and end up on that main stage. So it was really cool, and it was really just a hard push into the industry being like, okay, this is what we want to do and we're just going to go as hard as we can for that 5 minutes on the main stage.
Hmm. I mean, it's definitely that eye-opening experience that kind of if you can't beat that, then maybe you're not where you're supposed to be, but you held your own for sure.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. And I wasn't even on the stage when they called my name yet. Like it all happened so fast. And I'm like, what? Was that me? And my band was so excited because they've been with me for whatever, 7 or 8 years we've been playing together. So
Mhm.
it was a very cool moment to see that all kind of come to fruition and have that kind of win there.
Yeah, it looked great for sure. One of the main reasons we're here today, though, is talk about some new music. You have an EP, Honest, that I think you dropped earlier this month.
Yeah, is it a couple weeks ago? A few
Oh,
weeks ago? Oh
something
my
like
God.
that, yeah.
It's April 30th. That's terrifying. But yes.
So, what's the story behind that? How's that been received?
It's been great. These songs kind of trickled out over the last year and a half, 2 years. And it really just started with me trying to find where I want to sit in the industry and really finding my sound. And
Mhm,
so I think wrapping it all up with the song Honest was very kind of true to where I am right now and just kind of in this realm of being like, I can make the music I really want to make and there it'll be received by people. I think I hit a lot of milestones with the release of all of these songs. So it's been really, really exciting, pretty validating.
mhm. What was your process like when you were putting everything together?
Look, I would like to say it was all sound mind, all sorted out. Um, for the first little bit, I was definitely flying by the seat of my pants, trying to figure it all out. It's kind of been my first introduction to this side of the industry, I guess, releasing music that can sit a little more commercial and really digging into like the digital streaming aspect of things. So it was really for me a lot of figure it out as I go, asking my peers, my producers, kind of what their advice would be. But definitely it's been a process of just, making sure that I'm putting together songs that fit different aspects of who I am and where my influences come from because I grew up with a ton of musical influences. So now it's been cool experimenting on how to get them all into my own sound.
Hmm. Now, how important do you think is having like the introduction to the album or like the first song? How important do you think that choice is?
I think it's huge. I was really, in my mind, I was like, I almost thought to put Honest last. Um, but then it was kind of that moment where I'm like, you know what? This is the most raw and authentic song I've ever released. And it's just kind of got that bare bones, like I'm just airing it out kind of vibe. And so I think having that as the introductory to the album really sets the tone, I guess, in that sense. Because the album is there's a lot of heartbreak songs and all that on there. So I think having that set the tone and being like, okay, we're just gonna air it out here, I think is really important.
Hmm. Now, do you think this would be like the number one song if someone's new to listening to you, like they need to listen to this song first, or do you have a different choice?
That's a good question. I mean, I don't know. I love Honest. I think it's a great introduction. I think if you're looking for more of like a full band vibe of like who I am, If This Is Love would probably be the moment just because
Okay.
it's really full on and is literally we just kind of honored the song throughout it. Like we loved the song when we wrote it and we just kind of pushed it forward and that was the song that I think believing in that piece of work is what gave it the legs that it got. So I
Hmm.
would say If This Is Love, maybe.
Okay. I mean, those are two great choices to play
Yeah,
with too. So you can't go wrong with either one, really.
absolutely.
Now, this is going to be a bit of a harder question. Let's go back to 2021 with Hellbent. How do
Yeah.
you think your music has evolved since then?
Oh man, I don't know. I love that song so much. I mean, Hellbent was a funny one because that was a song that I was pitched and I had never taken an outside track before. And I listened to this song and there were so many things. I mean, when I'm coming to town, since I've lived away from home for so long, my parents always say, "Oh, Hurricane Tay is coming to town." And the first line of the chorus is "I'm a hurricane." So I think that song was almost it feels like me, but it was almost articulated better coming from somebody else because
Hmm.
it feels very self-aware. But I think my sound has just kind of fallen into itself a little bit. I think Hellbent was that first step of saying, I want to have that like big rounded out some rock influences, some bluesy influences, and that kind of set the tone for me. And then from there, I think the music just kind of settled in more and more and more into who I am. So, I mean, with Honest, we really just stripped it back and it is just exactly what I wanted it to be, where before I maybe would have been a little bit more insecure in that sound.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Do you find it harder to connect with an outside song or than it is in like your own type of music?
So for me, I haven't taken on any outside songs that I don't connect with. I think
Okay.
that was my biggest thing, that if I was going to take an outside song, it would be something that felt like I wrote it.
Okay.
So yeah, so for me, it's been great taking on stuff like that. But I think that can happen. I think you can write a song that doesn't feel like yours just as easy as you can take a pitch that doesn't feel like yours.
Yeah, and it really it's how you make it your own too.
Totally.
So it can
Totally.
be person who writes it and probably thinking one thing, and then if you hear it and you're like, oh man, I can totally play it this way. It's a whole different song.
It's so true. And I mean, I've walked out of rights before and gone, good song, but that's not me, you know? So it's kind of funny how you can just feel out where things sit. And obviously you can do a lot in production as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Now, music in the industry being as crazy as it can be, and I'm sure you've experienced, more and more of that as you've grown. What do you do to stay grounded outside of that?
Good question. I have a really great support system. I would say that's my biggest thing. I mean, my sister and I talk on the phone probably way too much. And so having that like family base and friendship base, all those people in my corner has been, I think, really important because you can get lost in it and it's really up and down, you know. There's a lot of ups and downs, and so you have to have those people that you can kind of call throughout like the highs and the lows. So I would say that's probably kind of where my biggest strength has been through that.
Any outside hobbies, interests that you do to distract yourself?
Good question. I used to have hobbies and then I joined the industry.
Yeah, yeah.
um Outside hobbies, I love trivia. My
Okay.
friends and I would go to trivia every Monday, stuff like that. But I don't really have a set hobby anymore because I feel like my whole life has become music.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. When
Yeah.
you're deep in it, there's nothing else really there.
It's crazy. It just never shuts off, you know? Like you could literally work all day and all night and the industry just never closes.
Yeah, I feel that. I think last night I was up until about 3 doing different work for this stuff. So,
Yeah, right? Because it's all on your own schedule too. So you can really do as much or as little as you want to.
hmm for
Yeah.
me, that's the only time I can do a lot of work. I have my wife, and then we have a little toddler running around now, so she's
Oh,
very, very demanding of time and energy. And
I'm sure.
I called her, well, yesterday she was on what I call demon time. She just was running around making noise and screaming, and I don't even know the reason for it. She just thought it was fun,
Yeah.
I guess. So it takes it out of you for sure.
That's so special. Yeah.
Mhm. Now I'm curious, what do you think is the toughest era of country music? There's been so many kind of iterations of it. What's the toughest one that you think?
I actually don't know. I mean, I guess it depends. I think we're in a really cool spot right now where people are really doing what they want to do, and it's kind of they're finding success doing that. You know, like you've Lainey Wilson, Zach Bryan, all of those guys who are really just like honed in on this one sound and it worked.
Hmm.
Um, but I do think, I mean, as far as females in country music, we've got a long, long way to go.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you look at the ladies in the 90s, and I'm sure they had their own batch of issues as well, but they are still so iconic, you know, and like your Shanias, your Dollies, all those people are just so great and had so much success. And so I think we've proved the market in the way that there is a market for females in country music. I mostly listen to females in country music. So I think there's a bit of a movement right now, and I'm excited to see where that goes.
So that probably would make this one of the tougher eras then. There's so much out there, and it's not one path anymore. There's hundreds of different paths.
I mean, yeah, it is kind of crazy. Like on socials, you have to be so active on socials. You have to be out playing and writing and running the business end of it too. It's pretty wild. It's cool. Like I think in ways there's a lot more opportunity now being able to be so public about everything and post on social media and see if people connect to it there. But it is definitely more saturated because you don't have to live in Nashville or like a hub to
Yeah.
be successful anymore. So it just opens the pool.
Definitely makes it interesting for sure.
Yeah.
What is your favorite part about the the creation of a song. So there's the writing, there's the production, there's the live. What do you think is your favorite piece of that?
I would say the live.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love to perform live. I think there's something so special about it. And the recording aspect is really cool because you take something from a work tape and get to see this whole production come to life. And that's a really cool moment. I love getting the final cut and
Hmm.
being like, whoa, this came a long way. But I would say getting to then go out and play it live is probably my favorite.
Yeah, I guess you get to see what the connection is face to face with people and makes it a bit
Yeah.
more interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that's one nice thing about Nashville is we're playing out all the time. So you can try out all these different songs that you've just written and see how people connect or don't.
Hmm.
And that's a good sign too. You're like, okay, that's not the song.
Yeah, and I mean Nashville, there's probably music everywhere, so it's so easy to just try something out.
Everywhere. Oh yeah. There's just so much going on here. I mean, I am somebody who has moved here with a lot of like fear of missing out, and that has subsided a little bit just because you're always missing something, you can never be at everything.
So how do you think you have grown personally from music? How has that helped you elevate your life?
I mean, it definitely gave me a direction. I mean, especially being in Nashville, it's kind of pushes you to be better and better and better because you're just surrounded by so much talent. So I think in that way, it's great. And I think music has a way, I mean, especially coming out of this EP, I feel like I know my direction more. I feel more confident in who I am as an artist and being myself. I think throughout the release of the EP, I was kind of like, okay, I have to be proper all the time and say the right things. And throughout it, I think you learn a lot and just to kind of let yourself go because that's what your audience wants at the end of the day. They just want to know who you are. So I think it's brought out a lot of confidence for sure.
Yeah, and it helps build your authenticity and just that feeling of the connection with someone.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even so funny, like even thinking about Instagram captions, I'm sitting there, I'm like calling my sister. I'm like, does this sound stupid? Like, do you like this? And now I'm like, whatever, send it
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
That's the worst part about social media is trying to get that perfect kind of moment because
Yeah.
everyone has that quick second. I hate that part. That's the worst for me.
It's awful. It's awful. I know. And you could like, if you say the wrong thing, people are like, oh, not great.
Yeah,
But you need that engagement. So it's like it's a very fickle world, social media.
very much so. And that's,
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part for most people is just still trying to navigate that because algorithms change. It seems like every couple months there's something new that people are looking at. So then, oh, I have to adjust. And
Oh, it's so true. And I mean, like the stuff I've gone viral for on TikTok, it's not even related to me. I went viral for filtering red wine through a tea bag.
okay.
4 million views. And then I followed up with a video of me, like 200 views. I'm like, okay, well,
Yeah, I have
okay,
that
we'll sort it
problem.
out.
Like between Instagram and TikTok, if you can put the same video up and then by goes back and forth each month. One will go stupid for a few minutes and on Instagram, and then TikTok, you don't see a thing, and then the next month it switches. It's I don't understand why.
It's crazy. Social media is something I don't totally understand, but it's good. I think it does a lot of good,
Hmm.
but it can also be very tricky to keep up with.
Yeah, very useful tool if you can manage it.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm. So in my interviews, I like to ask some fun questions and kind of slightly off music, but a little bit more, see what makes you tick. I
Okay.
think we touched based on this one back at Boots, but I'm curious if something's changed. And my favorite question I always ask is, what's one thing you think should be asked in an interview that's not asked enough?
Oh my gosh, that's a good question.
Hmm.
Um, do people usually have a really good answer for this?
I get such unique answers sometimes, and sometimes I've heard them before, but like other ones, for instance, the toughest era in country music, that's actually from someone answering
Really?
answering this question. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's such a enlightened thing to think of on the spot.
Hmm.
Okay, no, I'm politicianing right now. I'm soft. Okay. So I think something to be asked in an interview, I think would I mean, I think it would be some of like the moments that have come before being full on in this industry. Like, what are some of the jobs you had that really pushed you to go like full time into this kind of thing? Because I think we all have funny stories on, I mean, I used to walk dogs. I hated it.
Yeah. Always a job that you hate to push you into.
Yes. Yeah. Like we've all had those things that we're like, I really need to make this work, you know?
Yeah, I've had a few of those. I think
Yeah.
mine was like the those Dickie D ice cream vendor guys with the bikes. I used to do that once upon a time. Literally a guy with a big cooler on a bike just driving around selling ice cream.
I mean, how couldn't
Worst
you love
job
it?
I've ever had.
Isn't it something? I mean, I used to walk dogs and I had like, because you'd have seven dogs attached to you basically. And I
Hmm.
had to wear this like orange construction vest.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, this is awful. This
I
is
think
awful.
for me it lasted 2 days. I got robbed once and I freaked out. I was like, this is the stupidest job I've ever
You
had.
got robbed?
Yeah, by like a bunch of kids. They came up and they're pulling out money. We want ice cream, blah, blah, blah. So I'm starting to get it
Yeah,
ready. And then one of them came around the other side, tried to grab the whole box of ice cream from me. And yeah, there was a whole bunch of fun for
that
that.
is awful.
Yeah. And we're talking 2 days into doing this. So like the experience was a nightmare for that one.
Yeah. And you're like, see you later. I'm out of here.
I just literally drove the bike back and said, I'm done. Like this is stupid. And they made
No
me
two
pay
weeks
for the ice
notice.
cream too. Like I had to pay for the lost stuff. They had a shirt that was, I'm a big boy. They had a medium shirt for me. Like I haven't worn a medium since I was 10.
You had to pay for the stuff?
Yeah.
That is so hardcore. Whoa.
And that's why that company I don't think exists anymore because it was
Not great.
this company. Yeah.
See, I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah. Reminiscing about old horrible war stories, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, on to a slightly lighter note, then. I'm curious, what's something on your go-to playlist that people wouldn't expect you to listen to?
Oh, what is on there recently? Um, Jack Johnson banana pancakes.
Okay. I wouldn't have expected that at all.
It's just a good morning vibe.
Yeah, yeah, those are fun.
Yeah.
I like those.
Yeah, I like to mix him in with Kelsey Ballerini and all those guys. But there's something about banana pancakes. It's got a good vibe to it.
Yeah, I have so I my energy vibe that I do like Nicki Minaj super bass when I need to get myself a little bit
Yeah.
more jazzed up, I can go front to back with that no problem. And then the next song is like JoJo Mason and then whatever, but it's yeah, there's those
So
few ones
funny.
that are interesting.
Diving into people's playlists would be an interesting thing.
Oh God, you'd get such a weird vibe out of mine. It goes from anywhere from I have High School Musical on there to Disney songs to Metallica to, it's my main playlist is a mess of everything.
Yeah, I mean, as it should be.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And like the High School Musical thing is another one too. People wouldn't expect from me, but they wrote some really good songs. I'm sorry, but some of those are really good.
Those are bops,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Yeah. And they
That,
get stuck in your head. Like you're just randomly walking down the street one day and Breaking Free just pops right in. I don't get it.
And it's funny watching, a big 300-pound guy like me doing little spins and pirouettes and stuff, singing those songs and
Just popping off. I love
yeah.
it.
I gotta have some fun.
Absolutely.
So, okay, this question's a fun one then. It's a newer one to my repertoire. What
Okay.
would be your favorite late night show to play on?
Oh, to play on.
Yeah, like if they have the musical guests, what would
Yeah,
be your favorite?
that's a really good question. Okay, Taylor Tomlinson is the new late night host, and I love her.
Hmm.
So I would say that show.
Okay, now, but would that be just because you love her and Jimmy Fallon sucks, or like?
Mostly just because I love her. I would take any late night show,
Mhm.
but if I had to pick one, I really want to meet her, so I'll pick her show.
Okay, I like that. And being a new host is always fun too because it's such a different experience that people haven't seen yet.
Yeah, well, and I think her show is like completely different. It's like a throwback or something to an old game show
Hmm.
type vibe. I
Yeah,
don't
which
know.
is fun.
Yeah, yeah, it's great.
Now, this one is interesting. A great debate question. Do you think a hot dog is a sandwich?
I never thought about that before. Okay. What?
There's a whole bunch of different mindsets for this, so there is no wrong answer.
Okay. So my rationale would be it's not a sandwich because of the bun.
Okay, but Subway sandwich.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Hmm.
Yeah, because you wouldn't call it because it's like a burger bun. Hmm. But is a Subway sandwich actually a sandwich because it's a baguette?
It's sandwich right in the name.
Yeah, but maybe they're wrong.
Maybe they are. And see, this is the one that makes everyone go, wait a minute, wait a minute. There's so many
No, it's
different.
a sub. It's a sub.
Yeah, a sub sandwich. That's when that was created on its own. It was a foot long hoagie sandwich or a sub sandwich. Like there's,
Okay. Okay, I feel like if a hot dog is a sandwich, it's a sub sandwich.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yes.
Definitely, it has the same kind of general criteria for sure.
It sure does.
Yeah. See,
That's my answer. It's a
that one
sub
made me think
sandwich.
completely. Now, more important question. What do you hope people take away from your music?
I I mean, it depends what they're listening for. I mean, if you're listening to a song like Hellbent, you're listening just to have a good time, you know?
Hmm.
Um, but I think one of the things about writing and music is that you can take something totally different than the meaning of the song, you know, like you can kind of find yourself in a lot of songs. And so I think that would probably be my answer. What I would just want them to be able to kind of find themselves somewhere in the music.
Have some sort of connection to it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a good answer. What would you be doing if you weren't able to pursue music?
Okay. There's a lot. I have a couple different answers for this. So
Okay.
growing up, I was always told I would be a good lawyer,
Okay.
because I'm very good at arguing.
Always
And
fun. Yeah.
yeah, but then I think when I was kind of thinking, oh, do I need a plan B kind of thing, I would have become a teacher.
Okay. Like
Yeah.
specific type of teacher, math, science, English, or just in general.
You know what's funny? I never really thought about that because I always wanted, if I was going to be a teacher, it was going to be one that didn't have to read essays. So
Okay.
probably either math or science because that whole marking essays thing does not appeal to me.
Yeah, but there's also like technical things too, like some computer science type of teacher. You wouldn't necessarily have to. It's more project based versus essay
That's
based.
true. That's true. Yeah. Or like band. That
I
would
mean,
be
yeah, you're
fun.
still within the music that way.
Yeah. Yeah. I always thought being a teacher would be cool. And your holidays that's a nice schedule.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Then you have to deal with, 20 screaming brats sometimes.
Yeah. I know. I always actually a drama teacher would be cool. I had the best drama teacher in high school. And that always looked really fun to me because we would have like these plays or productions. They weren't really productions,
Mhm.
um, but it looked so fun.
Yeah, those would be fun, I think, the artistic style teachers.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure we drove him crazy, but we had a great time.
No, makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
Last question, most important one. Are you happy?
Yes. I would say obviously there's a lot of ups and downs and moments where you're like, what am I doing with my life? But overall, being able to do this as a job full time makes me very happy. And I'm a lot less happy when I'm not busy.
Makes sense. There's
Yeah.
always, keeping your mind occupied always helps.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I think, I mean, living in Nashville, you're always missing somebody, like you're missing home, missing your family, all that. But when you're home, you have all those people, but you're still kind of missing that fulfillment piece of a career. So yeah, I would say I'm happy.
I mean, that's always happiness is always what you strive for,
Yeah, that's a deep question.
right? And that's why it's at the end, so it makes you go, wait a minute.
Wait, am I happy? Yeah.
Actually, so I asked that one to Jojo Mason recently, and it made him like have this whole epiphany moment, it seemed like at the end.
Really?
Yeah, it was a surprise. He didn't expect it, so it made him think, and it
Yeah.
was funny to watch his reaction to that question.
Well, it is interesting because I mean, happiness, I think there's a scale of happiness.
Yeah.
You have your moments where you're just on top of the world and literally like that can change.
Mhm.
So, but I think in a general sense, I'm happy. Yeah.
Oh, I think that's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's all the fun points I have written down. Is there any final words of wisdom you'd like to leave to people?
I don't know. I don't feel that I have too much wisdom.
There's always some wisdom somewhere.
There's always something. I think just, I mean, my mom always told us to follow our dreams, and she ended up with myself pursuing music and my sister being a female athlete.
Okay.
So I think she sometimes regrets that. But I think just follow your passion, do what you feel like you need to do.
Well, tell your mom that, she shouldn't regret it. You're doing what's there, and I think you're doing a wonderful job at it.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So where can people find you on social media and everything?
Yeah, so all of my socials are Taylor-Rae official, RAE, and then my website is taylorraeofficial.com.
Awesome. Do you have any fun concerts and stuff coming up this summer?
Yeah, actually just announced today, I'm playing CMA Fest
Okay.
on June 6th. So
Nice.
that'll be exciting. And then we'll be back in Canada for the summer touring around. We'll be back at Boots and Hearts. So we'll probably see you there.
I definitely will be there, most likely with metaphorical bells on.
That's perfect.
Well, we'll cut this here, and I had a great time chatting with you, and I hope we get to do it again sometime.
Yeah, for sure. I'm so glad this worked out.
I'm always available if you ever want to pop stuff over for me to share, anything like that, please feel free.
Amazing. Okay, sounds good.
All right, well, you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you down the road.
Awesome. Okay, talk to you soon.
All right, bye now.
Goodbye.